Okay, welcome back to the channel once again. It is your Liverpool Brothers podcast. It is Monday, April 27th, and we are here to preview the Champions League semi-final ties. It is a game on Tuesday between PSG and Bayern Munich at the home grounds of the PSG side, Parc des Princes. And we'll also look at Atletico Madrid versus Arsenal at the Wanda Metropolitano. And straight before we go into it, Stana, we made our predictions before the quarterfinal stages kicked off. I said Madrid were going to qualify and play against PSG. So I got it wrong. Rather, Bayern Munich went through, like you said. So you predicted that side of the draw, right? So you said it was going to be PSG against Bayern. On the other side, where Arsenal find themselves, I predicted it was going to be Arsenal playing against Barcelona. That one too, I did get it wrong. Atletico Madrid ended up going through. But you predicted Sporting CP against Barca. Am I right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so before we get into it, let's give our predictions right off the bat. Who is going to be in the final and who is going to win it in the end?
I'm backing Bayern Munich to knock out Paris Saint-Germain the semi-final. I'm backing Bayern, and on the other side.
What about the other side?
The other side of the draw, I'll go for Arsenal to get to the final.
So your final is Bayern Munich Arsenal.
Bayern Munich versus Arsenal, yes, and then Bayern win it.
I think Bayern is going to go through against PSG, and on the other side of the draw, I think Atletico Madrid goes past Arsenal, and in the final, I expect Bayern to end up winning the Champions League. So what we are going to do is that we are going to come back after the end of the semi-final ties and review the predictions and also give our predictions for the final. So now let's get into the games. PSG plays against Bayern Munich. Do you think, first of all, this PSG team is as good as they were last season?
Are they as good as they were last season? Tough question. I think they are good as they were last season. I think they are as good as they were last season. I think most people would probably say they were better last season, but maybe it's also from an angle of we didn't expect them to be as good as they were last season. But I think they've been as good, especially in the last few months, the last maybe month. I think they've shown really high levels as we saw last season. I think, again, the opposition that they face this season is not as high as what they faced last season. So it also plays into our thinking in assessing them if they've actually been that spectacular as they were last year. But I believe they've shown really high levels just as if they did last season.
Yeah, I think my opinion on this is a bit different because I think they haven't been as good as they were last season. I think the game between them and Liverpool has really flattered them and elevated them to a level where I think they are not, because Liverpool has been very poor this season. And in those two games between Liverpool and PSG, Liverpool were absolutely atrocious. Even in that second leg where people thought Liverpool played well, for me, that was the barest minimum that Liverpool were supposed to do to even get anything from the game. So if you do the barest minimum and you still come up short, it means you didn't do well. So for me, Liverpool made them look better than they actually are, because I've seen some of their games in the French League 1. They haven't been very defensively solid at all. I think they leak a lot of goals. Even when they score goals, they still leak a lot of goals. And PSG has shown that they are a team who missed a lot of chances, especially this season. Even against Liverpool, they missed a lot of chances. Coupled with the fact that they might be missing a few key players going into this particular semi-final. That is why I think they might be a little bit below the level they were last season. But let's talk about Bayern. Do you think that Bayern's goal scoring record is going to have any impact in this particular game? Does that give them any advantage going into this particular game?
Yeah, I think it does. I think the attacking threat of this Bayern side is something that PSG can't take for granted. I mean, how potent they are in their attack and the amount of goals, the sheer volume of goals that they scored this season. And it also means that they are coming into this game with a lot of confidence. Also on the back of them winning the league phase. Remember, they played in November in the league phase before the knockout phases of the Champions League. So they've already met this year. And Bayern Munich came out on top 2-1. And also, in the last 5 Champions League games, consecutive games that PSG have played against Paris Saint-Germain, Bayern have beaten them in every single one of them, the last 5 games. I think the last time we saw PSG coming out on top was in the Club World Cup. So this is in no means to mean that PSG or Bayern Munich will do it again, because this is a different ball game altogether. And although history does count when it comes to some of these fixtures, the game in isolation, I don't think it has any bearing on who has won the previous fixture. But in terms of the question that you're asking, yes, the attacking potency of this Bayern Munich side would also mean that in terms of PSG's wing back, Nuno Mendes and Hakimi, who would ordinarily like to bomb forward in the attack, they will be very wary of exposing their back being exposed, because they know how much of a threat this Bayern side can pose.
Yeah, so I think this game is going to be end to end. It's going to involve goals. Both teams are going to score. Nobody is going to try and sit back and defend. So it is going to come down to throwing punches at each other and seeing who is able to land the most punches. So where do you think the game is going to go? This particular game, is it going to be a win for PSG as they are playing home? Do you think they have that advantage, or based on the record of Bayern Munich, the away record as well in the Champions League, do you think they can go away and get a result, even a win, as they did against Madrid?
Yeah, in terms of your question, I think Bayern do stand a big chance. I think the only thing that makes me a bit pessimistic about the game, although I've said Bayern will go through, is the managers in the dugout, the experience of Luis Enrique and his ability to change in game, his tactical nous. We're considering that with Vincent Kompany and how fairly inexperienced he is when it comes to these kind of stages. Luis Enrique has been here before. He's done it before. He's done it with Barca. He's done it with PSG last year. So aside from that, I think the other factors I believe are in Bayern's favor. Again, PSG might be missing Vitinha. He didn't play in the last game, and if he's supposed to make this game, I feel it will be a very, very big issue for PSG, because this game I think will be won in midfield, because these teams play in a very similar sort of way. Bayern Munich and PSG both use their centre forwards as deep lying playmakers. They drop very, very deep at times, and then they are able to facilitate play, link up with their wide players, and that is how they are able to advance. Both teams use very similar styles. So in terms of those players adding up in midfield, creating overloads, so every single one of them would like to have that sort of control. So ordinarily it would have been Kimmich versus Vitinha. But without Vitinha, it means maybe someone like a Henry would step up. Fabian Ruiz was the injured for majority of the season. Fortunately for them, he is back as Vitinha is out, so maybe he will come into the side as well. But it would mean that PSG will lack that sort of personality in there, who would often go even when there's pressure and then receive the ball, give the ball to me, and then I'll help the team move up the pitch. They will lack that sort of personality in the middle of the pitch. But I still think PSG are still a strong side even without him. But that would be a concern for PSG in terms of who wins the midfield battle on it all. So I feel this will be a high scoring game, one that I think, in terms of the consistency that I've seen from the Bayern Munich attack, it would mean that if it becomes an end-to-end game, I think Bayern Munich might slightly edge it on the goals, maybe a 3-2, a 3-3 draw, coming back to the Allianz Arena, a scoreline of that sort, I believe.
Okay, so that means that it's likely that in the end Bayern is going to qualify. I also do think that Bayern is going to edge PSG in terms of the goal scoring because their attack is just too dangerous. They are a chance creation machine who just keep churning chance. Even against Madrid, they squandered a lot of chances. They created them, but they just couldn't put them away the way you would expect. So that is the Bayern versus PSG game. Let's move on to the Atletico Arsenal game. How do you think this game is going to go? How is the two teams going to approach it? Because these two teams seem to play in a very similar way. They want to keep it compact at the back, hit you on the break when they have the
Yeah.
opportunity. Now that they are both meeting each other, nobody wants to really attack. How is the game going to play out? I don't know, but I feel this is going to be a very, very cagey affair between Simeone and Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, I feel the same way. This game actually reminds me of a game in 2015. That was Granada versus Atletico Madrid. That was the game since Opta started recording XG, the lowest XG performance from both sides in a single game in Euro's top 5 leagues. The recorded XG for that game was 0.15 from both teams. It was just one shot on goal, one shot on. That one shot on goal was from Koki in the first half of that game. So we might be witnessing another haram ball. Well, one of the best of all time. And I think this is an interesting fixture. I think the semi-final in the whole is an interesting fixture because it is PSG and Bayern playing a similar sort of way, and they are playing against each other. And then Atletico Madrid and Arsenal also play in a sort of similar style of way as well, with both managers having sort of a similar philosophy when it comes to that mindset and how they approach games. So I think it will be an interesting one. But I don't think it will be as boring as people think it will. Because I feel like when it comes to the Champions League, Atletico Madrid or Diego Simeone plays that sort of that competition a bit differently to how he plays in the La Liga. Because when he faced Barcelona in the first leg at the Camp Nou, it wasn't as his handbrake wasn't as high as people thought or I thought Diego Simeone would approach that game. So with that in mind, and even in the second leg against Tottenham Hotspur, just after the group phase, Tottenham Hotspur actually beat Atletico Madrid by 3-2 when Tottenham were leading in the first leg. So ordinarily, you would think Tottenham Hotspur coming to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium would have sat back, soak pressure, and try and hit them on the break. But they opened up. So although Arsenal is a different animal altogether, and it means that Atletico Madrid will be a lot wary, a lot safer in terms of how they approach the game. But I don't think it will be as cagey or as end to end as the Bayern game. But I don't think it will be as boring as a lot of us may be expecting as well. I think we will see a goal in that game. I think we'll see a goal in that game. But I know how Arteta will
Just a
approach the
goal.
game. He will try to bring the game back to the Emirates, just like he did against Sporting. I think the only thing that I would say about Arsenal is if they play the same way they played against Sporting in the double leg, if they play the same way, they don't advance to the final. It won't be enough. The performance against Sporting, the performance against Newcastle wouldn't be enough to take them to the final. Maybe the performance against Manchester City could be that sort of performance that could probably get them to the final of the Champions League.
Okay, let's look at it this way. From Atletico Madrid's perspective, what do you think would be a good result for them in this first leg?
I
What
think
would
they need
be
to
a
win.
good result in this particular game?
I think they need to win. That would be the best result for them. I think a draw would be okay. A draw wouldn't be the end of the world. I think if they lose, I don't think they go through if they lose that game. a win will do a world of good for them. Even if it's a 1-0 match, 2-0 match, it doesn't matter. They just need to win that game. And if they go to the Emirates with a win, it would mean that considering Arsenal's lack of chance creation when it comes to the final third, in the last 12 games, they haven't scored more than a goal. They haven't created more than an XG or more than one in their last few games as well. So it means that if Atletico Madrid is able to get a lead going to the Emirates Stadium, it would mean that they stand a very high chance of qualifying to the finals of the Champions League for the first time in a few years.
So, from Arsenal's perspective, then, what do you think would be a good result in this game? Should Arsenal go there and try to nick a draw and come back home and finish the tie? Or you think Arsenal should get at least a 1-goal margin win and come back to the Emirates to finish them off?
I think Arsenal should show more intention. They should show more desire. They should show more willingness to win the game. I mean, from a personal point of view, I would never want my team to go into a game trying to get a draw. I mean, when you look at the balance of things, you might probably say it will be a fairly decent result if they are able to get a draw. But from where I sit, I would want my team to go into this sort of game and try and win the game. That is how I would want to go into the game. Considering the fact that Saka is back, they have a few players back, and in the Champions League, aside the Sporting game, the home and away leg versus Sporting, they have actually been scoring the Champions League. Someone like Martinelli has a very good record when it comes to the Champions League. Give these players confidence to go out and play, and I think if they do that, they will get a result against Atletico Madrid. Because Atletico Madrid, although they have been solid in the Champions League, they do tend to concede a lot when it comes to the Champions League as well, because of how open that they tend to play when it comes to the Champions League. Even in the La Liga, the last game in the La Liga, they conceded 2 goals before they came back and won that game. So they are porous when it comes to their back line. With Pubel, with Gary, these are not staunch defenders. These are not the Diego Godins or the Mirandes or the kind of defenders that we've seen Atletico Madrid produce over the years. These are fairly beatable defenders that when you get at them, when you press them, you will get opportunities. But I don't think Arteta approaches the game that way anyway. So let's just see how it goes.
Yeah, actually, I think one thing that we haven't really spoken about is the fact that Atletico Madrid do have a very, very good record in the Wanda Metropolitano when it comes to Champions League knockout stages. Until recently, when Barca beat them 2-1 in the just ended quarterfinal game between both of them, they hadn't lost. Diego Simeone hadn't lost any knockout stage game in the Champions League and the Wanda Metropolitano. So for me, that is why my thinking is more towards Atletico Madrid qualifying. Because remember that when Atletico Madrid is able to get a result, let's say a 1-0 win against Arsenal at the Wanda, when they go to the Emirates, it is going to be extremely difficult for Arsenal to beat them there. You remember what they did to us, Liverpool, in the 2019-20 season, when I think they beat us at the Wanda Metropolitano.
Yeah.
We thought we were coming back home to get a comeback, and it never materialized. They actually ended up beating us again at Anfield. So if they were able to do that at Anfield at that time under Jurgen Klopp, when the team was absolutely at its peak, I think they can do even much better against Arsenal in this particular tie.
I think I would have agreed with you if the return leg was at the Wanda Metropolitano. But the second leg being at Arsenal makes it a bit difficult. But it is, I mean, your points are very valid as well. At the Wanda Metropolitano, they never lose until recent loss against Barcelona.
Arsenal would have to be extremely good on the attack if they are to beat Atletico Madrid at the Wanda Metropolitano. They have to be as good as maybe Bayern or Barcelona in creating chances, chance upon chances, putting pressure on them. And I really don't see Arsenal doing that. The only way I see Arsenal scoring in this particular game is through a corner. To be honest, I don't see Arsenal creating chances through open play. Yeah. They might try and play for the corner, and then when the corner arrives, they use one of their set piece gimmicks to try and nick a goal in this particular game. So let's end it here. Thank you all for joining us once again. Thank you for those who have already subscribed. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe. Hit the like button as well. Share the video and comment down below. Let us know where you are watching from, and we'll see you later. Bye.